Shadow Toxicroak hits the field of play. The opponent pivot out into the unshielded hot air balloon. The opponent might triple resist fighting, but Toxicroak with access to Shadow Ball about to make quick work of it. Drift Bloom straight in and straight out. Welcome back to the channel. In Season 23's move update, there's two things that I really liked. Firstly, the buff to Acid. I still can't quite believe Acid's actually a good move. And secondly, Toxicroak gaining access to Poison Sting. Toxicroak, without a doubt, one of my favourite Pokemon. Firstly, it hits like a truck, and secondly, it's got access to that magical ghost and fighting coverage that is currently unresisted in Pokemon Go. There's no worse feeling than being stuck in a matchup where your Pokemon can only hit for resisted damage, but Pokemon with this combination of charge moves do not suffer that issue whatsoever. Today's battles have been submitted to the channel once again by the one and only Turbo T612. However, this is actually going to be the next part of my series of the community creations, where firstly I'm going to shoutcast his battles, and secondly I'm going to take his team and put it to work myself. This video is already super long, so let's keep the intro short and sweet. And without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, Turbo leads his Shadow Pidgeot into Greninja, a type neutral matchup. As we're on an ABB team, I'm going to anticipate the pivot, and we do exactly that. The Shadow Primeape hits the field of play. The opponent farm up to what could be a Hydro Cannon. Thankfully, the opponent doesn't go for the Night Slash bait. They then send out Shadow Machamp. Shadow Machamp going to be greeted with the Rage Fist. This could be a close combat. The opponent put up that Protect Shield. Turbo doubled up. Going to fire off the next Rage Fist. Of course, this is now boosted, and the Rage Fist rocks the opponent down to around a third health. The opponent not wanting to take any more boosted Karate Chop damage, opt to fire off the Cross Chop, removing us from the field of play. Pidgeot re-enters the arena, gets a very nice 2-gust farm down. The opponent sends out Aurora. Shadow Toxicroak hits the field of play. Toxicroak goes straight for the Dynamic Punch, double super effective, and should be forcing the final Protect Shield. Holy, the opponent saving that shield for Greninja. Not sure on that play. Oh my days. In fairness to the opponent, they are ABA weak to fighting, and Toxicroak would have had a good time landing that Dynamic Punch on either Pokemon. Greninja fired off the Hydro Cannon, removing us from the field of play. Pidgeot re-enters the arena, fires off the Feather Dart, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Feraligatr in the lead position. A very, very nice lead for Pidgeot. Feraligatr, of course, using Shadow Claw as a quick move, and Ghost is double resisted by a subnormal typing. As the opponent didn't farm up to the Ice Beam, we see the instant no-shield deployed. Turbo then going to YOLO the Brave Bird, looking to move Feraligatr from the field of play. Down goes Feraligatr. We see the instant pivot into Primeape, and out comes the Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death. This isn't actually the worst matchup, especially with shields to hide behind, as Primeape can continually buff up his attack, meaning these Rage Fists do more and more over time. We're going to see Turbo invest the Protect Shield, the opponent also running a move that vamps up their attack, meaning these Incinerates are really going to start chunking. Undeterred, we fire off the next Rage Fist, forcing the opponent's first Protect Shield. Turbo able to reach one further Rage Fist, and the opponent's very quickly going to find himself all shields down. Turbo sends back out Pidgeot, looking to force the energy, and it is Toxicroak time. Toxicroak with a 1-0 shield advantage looks to close the show. Toxicroak hits the field of play, wastes no time, goes straight for the Dynamic Punch, wanting to keep that shield intact. Dynamic Punch removes Talonflame from the field of play. The opponent's final Pokemon is Virizion. Oh man, Toxicroak should fully wall this moveset of Leaf Blade and Sacred Sword. However, we are so glassy and rapidly running out of HP. Turbo overfarms, fires off the first Dynamic Punch, and Toxicroak's lack of bulk is about to be put to the test. In Toxicroak, I believe. Leaf Blade! Oh, doesn't knock out. Toxicroak on fractional HP hangs on, reaches the next Dynamic Punch, and we take that game. Sorry I doubted you, Toxicroak. You definitely had to be worried there, buddy. Heading into the next battle, we see Cobalion in the lead position. We see the instant pivot into Primeape. The opponent farm up some energy and then send out Cresselia. Of course, a Psychic type should be good into a fighter, but if I was the opponent, I wouldn't have given us such a huge energy lead, as this is potentially now a matchup that Turbo can flip. And if we flip this matchup, Cobalion is completely walled by Toxicroak, unless they're on an Iron Head. I personally haven't seen an Iron Head Cobalion in my absolute entirety of my GBL career. However, this is week 2 of the season, so you never know. Even on the off chance Cobalion does have Iron Head, they are not in for a good time against Toxicroak, as Iron Head is an absolute trash move. The opponent wanting to keep switch advantage opted to shield Cresselia here in the mid-game matchup, and I think taking 2 shields actually is even better for us than taking switch, as we now got Toxicroak up a Protect Shield looking to sweep the back line. Pidgeot gets a nice gust farm down, back out comes Cobalion. They haven't farmed up to a Stone Edge, so Sacred Sword is easily survivable. The opponent fire off the Sacred Sword. Turbo going to bank the Brave Bird, catch the next Sacred Sword onto Toxicroak, where this is resisted damage. The opponent then pivot out into the unshielded Giratina, and this is what I love about these two fighters. You see a ghost type as a fighter, you're normally pretty sad, but both of our fighting types have access to a ghost type charge move, and Shadow Ball is going to do a lot of damage. Giratina insanely thick, but instantly put deep into the red health range. The opponent does get a very nice Shadow Claw farm down, however they opt to instant throw. So using a 2-turn move into a 4-turn move, the opponent should have went for 1 Shadow Claw first, then the charge move. Potentially that would have let them get to 2 moves, however they did not, and Pidgeot now primed to sweep. We fire off the Feather Dance. Perhaps anticipating 1 Brave Bird, not getting the job done, but able to outpace 2 said Brave Bird, and that is going to be all she wrote. Ultra League battles are notoriously long and slow, as Pokemon are insanely bulky, but this team seems to make quick work of the opposition. Heading into the next battle, we see the Dream Lead. Trainer, you cannot be this weak to fly in. What the heck is in the back that you opt in to stay in a matchup where your Grass and Fighting type is taking double super effective Gust damage? Pidgeot able to fully Gust farm down, the opponent sends out Belly Bolt, and Primeape hits the field of play. As this Belly Bolt is running Thundershot, they're actually able to outpace Primeape to that first charge move. The opponent fire off the Parabolic Charge, then send out Samurott. Samurott greeted with the Rage Fist. Primeape going to be able to outpace to the second Rage Fist. This is even going to force the Protect Shield to do almost all of the remaining HP. Samurott tanks the damage, and this is going to be G to the G. Belly Bolt is without a doubt the most annoying Pokemon in the Ultra League. If I was playing this battle, I would send out Pidgeot and I'd just Feather Dance the absolute shit out of that Belly Bolt, because they cannot reset this attack drop. Turbo does exactly that. Feather Dance pretty much going to heal Belly Bolt, but what it is going to do is apply a 2-stage attack drop they can never ever reset. The opponent is going to vamp up their defense, but their damage output at this point is essentially laughable. Toxicroat goes straight for the Dynamic Punch, of course, forcing the opponent's first Protect Shield. Toxicroak still with 2 shields to hide behind Turbo, going to start investing them. I think the win con for the opponent is Turbo essentially having a heart attack. Toxicroak going to reach the next Dynamic Punch, of course, once again, forcing the Protect Shield. Toxicroak still with that shield to hide behind, going to be investing it here. Even if this Dynamic Punch doesn't get the job done, it should put them low enough that even Pidgeot can handle Belly Bolt. Dynamic Punch should put them into the red. It actually leaves them deep in the red. The opponent recognises they're going to get Poison Stung farm down and finally concede the match. Use Belly Bolt, and that's what you deserve. Sorry, not sorry. Turbo T goes a perfect 5-0 in set number 1. Heading into the next battle, we see that absolute Dream Lead Pidgeot into Gliscopod. The opponent find himself somewhat core broken as they send out Gligar. Gligar, much like Gliscopod, using Fury Cutter as a quick move, and Pidgeot does resist Bog. Pidgeot actually going for a cheeky Feather Dance bait. Feather Dance goes unshielded. The opponent doing their best to get himself back in the game. Primeape, of course, will take super effective from this incoming Aerial Ace, but 2-stage debuff. The glassy Primeape able to shrug off the damage. Primeape wastes no time, goes for the Rage Fist. Rage Fist forces the protection. His opponent's desperate to flip that alignment. Turbo doesn't really need switch, to be honest, as Toxicroak does double resist the Fury Cutter damage from Gliscopod, but he is going to shield his Primeape. As we're boosted, the opponent recognises they're going to get Karate Chop farm down, send out Gliscopod. Gliscopod greeted with the Rage Fist. Turbo then saves Primeape, pivots into Pidgeot, looking to catch the charge move. Pidgeot unable to hang on from the Aqua Jet, and Pidgeot is just used as the potential third shield. Toxicroak hits the field of play. Can we fully Poison Sting farm this down? I don't think so. Let's see what Turbo's cooking up. Turbo going to invest the Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Aqua Jet. Turbo going to farm up to the double Dynamic Punch. The opponent still has a shield to hide behind. Where do they invest it? The opponent shield Gliscopod, but Toxicroak able to win the charge attack priority, and Dynamic Punch will be moving Gliscopod from the field of play. Out comes Belly Bolt. Both Turbo and his opponent do have a catch attempt available. This game is going to get very, very close. Toxicroak fires off the Dynamic Punch, doing a solid amount of chip damage. Toxicroak can tank 1 Parabolic Charge, not well, but just about able to survive. We then pivot into Primeape. Primeape able to reach the Rage Fist, but Rage Fist simply won't cut it. Rage Fist gets Belly Bolt into the red. The opponent able to Sucker Punch farm down. We're able to Poison Sting farm down. No shot. Reach the Dynamic Punch and take that game. I'll be honest, I thought we were cooked, but Toxicroak's lightning fast energy generation gets us out of jail. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we see Dragougie in the lead position. Are they still on Dragon Tail? I'll be honest, I shoutcast on my phone and Pidgeot's wings and Shadow Aura filling the entirety of the screen. It's really hard to see what quick move they're on. We're going to tank the Aqua Tail. Yola the Brave Bird. Brave Bird unfortunately goes shield, and we see the pivot into Primeape. This Dragougie is indeed still on Dragon Tail. A lot of people are opting for Acid this season, as of course Dragalge will get same type attack bonus, and Acid does generate energy better than Dragon Tail. Not that I think Dragon Tail is a bad option. Dragalge is always a player in the Ultra League, that wasn't really used before this season. This Dragalge is starting to become a problem for Turbo. Turbo's now down both Protect Shields and lost 1.5 Pokemon's HP. Out comes Tentacle, ABA Poison, that is a crazy strategy. Turbo fires off the Rage Fist, then going to throw the Close Combat. Despite it's being resisted, it does do more. Close Combat forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, and we send out the unshielded Toxicroak. Toxicroak can tank a Scald, not well, but one is survivable. Toxicroak put down to around a third of health. Turbo going to overfarm as much as he physically can and fire off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball will move in Tentacruel from the field of play. Triple Poison. What the heck is this team, man? One ground type, and this opponent is cooked. We fire off the Dynamic Punch. Unfortunately, get Poison Jabbed farm down. How does Turbo win this game? We're going to have to make a catch. We send out Pidgeot, attempt the catch. Catch is successful, but I don't think we've got enough HP to reach a charge move. Oh, crazy team, but unfortunately able to beat our team. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Pidgeot into Togekiss, a very annoying tap-tap Charmer. I guess we're kind of happy to see this in the lead position, although Toxicroak only takes neutral and charm, and the poison sting that would be super effective. Turbo fires off the Feather Dance, the opponent reset their debuff, sending out Melmetal, and Primeape hits the field of play. For those of you OGs, you'll remember a time in Ultra League where both Melmetal and Togekiss were quite meta relevant. Back in the days where Giratina was on like 99% of teams, these two Pokemon both have play into that. We fire off the Close Combat, removing the Tin Can from the field of play. Back out comes Togekiss. Togekiss gets the full tap-tap Charm Down, farm down. We send out Pidgeot. Pidgeot gets farm down, but this just puts the opponent in a range where Toxicroak can one shield, fully Poison Sting farm down, and look to go nuke in. The opponent not wanting to see a farm down, send out Hydreigon, and opponent, you're in trouble. Toxicroak at the double Dynamic Punch. The opponent saving that final shield for Togekiss, but this is not a matchup they'll be winning. Turbo fires off the next Dynamic Punch. The opponent invests that Protect Shield. Look for the tap-tap Charm Down, farm down. But Toxicroak able to Poison Sting, farm down. And we take that game. Heading into the next battle. Pidgeot into Primeape. Fantastic lead. The opponent retreat into Steelix. And here comes Primeape. Steelix actually alright into this matchup, to be honest. The opponent can cheese their way through it if they're willing to invest Protect Shield. The opponent fire off the Psychic Fangs, which is not only super effective, but also debuffs our defense. Turbo heavily overfarms, fires off the Rage Fist, anticipating the opponent looking to fight for switch advantage. This time we're YOLO in the Close Combat. Close Combat, no, goes unshielded. The opponent making all the wrong shield calls. Turbo T has shield advantage and switch advantage, of course. We're going to realign Pidgeot into Primeape. Primeape goes to the Rage Fist bait, and then send out Gator. Oh my days, this opponent is so weak to Pidgeot, or ABA weak to be fair. We fire off the Brave Bird. Brave Bird removes them from the field of play, and the opponent is going to concede the match with Toxicroat getting a well-deserved rest on the bench. Turbo T manages to go another 5-0. I didn't actually put these battles in order. I've kind of removed some of the battles against like novice trainers or people just running like a random early season nonsense to try and give you some more value rather than just see Turbo, a highly talented battler, clapping noobs. In the next battle, we saw Primeape once again in the lead position. The opponent pivots out into Moltres. Turbo looks for the kill shot, firing off the Brave Bird. Brave Bird removes Moltres from the field of play. Turbo's just literally in all his opponent's head, landing nukes at will, and opponents just not getting any of the shield calls right against him. The opponent sends out Belly Bolt. Toxicroak fired off the Dynamic Punch, forcing the opponent's first Protect Shield. The opponent fire off the Parabolic Charge. This one is on Sucker Punch. I would say not applying too much fast move pressure, but Toxicroak doesn't really look like it resists this whatsoever. Thankfully, the opponent doesn't commit to the resisted Sucker Punch farm down, which I think they certainly would have been able to get. Parabolic Charge removes us from the field of play. Turbo now has Primeape, upper Protect Shield, and almost full health Pidgeot too. Turbo gonna fire off the Rage Fist, recognising with double buffed up defense, one Close Combat won't knock out Belly Bolt. Their Primeape's dry as well. Turbo at this point can just reach the double Close Combat, nuke everything, and this is going to be game over. Turbo looks to overfarm, fire off the Close Combat. Close Combat will be moving Belly Bolt from the field of play. When Primeape does return in this mirror match, the opponent is very quickly about to be straight in and straight out. Close Combat easily picks up the one-hit KO, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Pidgeot into Clefable. This opponent running Charm. I think Clefable's actually quite a good pick in the Ultra League, but I'd certainly be opting for Fairy Wind for that quick energy generation. If you're going to run Charm, you're quite a mono, one-dimensional Pokemon, essentially relying on tap-tap fast move pressure. Turbo gonna fire off the Feather Dance. Feather Dance goes unshielded, but Turbo should be able to Gust Farm down before the opponent tap Charm Farm us down. Pidgeot leads with the Brave Bird that we're gonna go look at the incoming Cresselia. Oh man, this one's on Confusion as well. Brave Bird does land. Man, this opponent really is a fan of just tapping their phone and applying as much fast move pressure as we physically can. How do we remove this Cresselia? Can Primeape reach free Rage Fist? If we can't, Toxicroak is going to get absolutely melted. The second Rage Fist forces the opponent's final Protect Shield and then snipe with Swampert. Can we farm up to double moves? I think we can, but the issue is I don't think one Dynamic Punch will remove Swampert from the field of play. If it was Shadow and Shadow Cron, potentially Turbo looks to go for that Wing Con. From the Dynamic Punch on the charge attack priority, one Dynamic Punch isn't quite lethal, and fast move pressure this time is going to be the key to victory. Hydro Cannon removes us from the field of play, and we take a heartbreaking defeat. Heading into the next battle. We lead Shadow Pidgeot this time into a Purified Swampert. Turbo, you know the drill, buddy. You cannot lose to a Purified Pokemon, and that is absolute sacrilege. The opponent banked a boatload of energy on Swampert before sending out Cresselia. I like that play a lot, to be honest. I used to always bank energy on Swampert and look to just nuke something in the endgame. Cresselia, of course, going to do an objectively better job of tanking this energy from Pidgeot. We fired off the Brave Bird, then landed the Feather Dance, so I guess our defense is technically -1 at this point, at least in this matchup specifically. Pidgeot able to hang on, tanking a charge move, and Primeape hits the field of play. Once again, as Cresselia is double debuffed, one move should be survivable. The opponent then pivots back out into Swampert and looks to put to use all this banked energy. I believe the opponent's actually at 99 energy here. We're able to reach the Rage Fist, winning charge attack priority. Rage Fist won't be lethal, and the opponent actually know that, not shielding either. Turbo going to elect to let Primeape go down. Hydro Cannon removes us from the field of play. Pidgeot re-enters the arena, unable to Gust Farm down before yet another Hydro Cannon's reached. It's going to be Toxicroak versus the Wild. Toxicroak hits the field of play, looks for the resisted Poison Sting farm down, which we're able to get. Out comes Typhlosion. Dynamic Punch should be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. No! What is the opponent doing? Maybe trying to Psycho Cut farm us down. Toxicroak going to be investing that Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Thunder Punch. Back out comes Cresselia. Toxicroak able to Poison Sting farm down. We farm up to the double Dynamic Punch. The first will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield, and the second is going to be all she wrote. What an absolute crazy game that was. GG's to both trainers. Heading into the next battle. Turbo T, a 6-1-2 is going to lead Pidgeot into Giratina. The opponent says no thank you, say switching into the Angry Alligator. This is definitely a very nice matchup for Pidgeot, especially when the opponent doesn't farm up to an Ice Beam. The opponent fire off the Hydro Cannon. Turbo, YOLO and the Brave Bird. You got two choices, opponent. Get knocked out or give us that shield. The opponent opts for the latter. Gator straight in and straight out. We'll look to reset our debuff, sending out Primeape. Primeape hits the field of play. Giratina re-enters the arena. Turbo wastes no time, goes straight for the Rage Fist. Rage Fist not only super effective, but also has a 100% chance to vamp up our attack. Primeape's insanely glassy, but can survive any one move, unless the opponent threw a Shadow Force, but this opponent didn't farm up to that. Turbo tanks the Dragon Claw, fires off the boosted Rage Fist. Giratina reluctant to shield and find himself deep in the red health range. Turbo going to elect to let Primeape go down. We send out Toxicroak. Toxicroak looking for the resisted Poison Sting farm down, which you love to see. Giratina going to fire off one departing Dragon Claw, then pivot out into Swampert. Swampert going to be greeted with the Dynamic Punch. Dynamic Punch forces the opponent's first Protect Shield, and Pidgeot hits the field of play. These mud shots are double resisted. The opponent literally has no fast move pressure whatsoever. Their entire team had no fast move pressure into Pidgeot. Mud shot double resisted, and both Shadow Claw users also hitting for double resisted. The opponent technically get themselves back in the game, calling the Feather Dance bait, and then very much make a potato play, throwing the next Hydro Cannon on alignment. The opponent's still able to reach one further Hydro Cannon, which will be moving Pidgeot from the field of play. Toxicroak re-enters the arena. The opponent pivots out into Giratina, just feeding us free energy. The opponent recognised the game's over. Stop tapping. We resisted Poison Sting farm down and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we lead Shadow Pidgeot, into Belly Bolt. We're going to say switch into Primeape. This one is the Thundershot variant, so Belly Bolt actually pretty decent into the entirety of our team. The opponent sends out Virizion, likely wanting to keep this thing far, far away from our Legacy Gust Pidgeot. Turbo landed the Rage Fist. The opponent going to return fire with likely a Leaf Blade. Primeape just about able to hang on. Turbo once again farms the close combat, throws the Rage Fist, a Rage Fist, forced to Protect Shield. Primeape able to reach one further Rage Fist. And if the opponent wants to keep switch, it's going to cost them both Protect Shield. The opponent obliges, putting up both Protect Shields before committing to that double kick farm down. Even if this is a Stone Edge one, will be survivable in the Ultra League. It's just a Sacred Sword, which is an easy tank. Pidgeot gets the Gust farm down. We pivot into Toxicroak. Out comes the Balloon Trainer. If you think this is a good matchup, you're in for one hell of a surprise. Shadow Ball, super effective. Drifblim straight in and straight out. Oof, Toxicroak, you monster. Back out comes the unshielded Belly Bolt. The opponent very quickly buff up their defense, but Toxicroak hits like a truck and two dynamic punches should still knock out, or at least come pretty close. The opponent reaches one further parabolic charge. Turbo with that shield to Hybion, going to be investing it here. Toxicroak wastes no time, goes straight for the dynamic punch. Is this dynamic punch enough to knock out? Yes it is. Get that Belly Bolt off my screen and Turbo T will be emerging victorious. GG's and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see another Feraligatr in the lead position. It looks like this opponent at least looking to farm up to a potential Ice Beam. To be honest, you don't really want to throw Ice Beam at a full health Pidgeot, as one isn't lethal and the opponent is going to have a near impossible task of trying to double resisted Shadow Claw farm us down. So double Hydro Cannon is the correct play. We YOLO'd the Brave Bird, which unfortunately went shielded. We say switch into Primeape and out comes Venusaur. Turbo going to fire off the Rage Fist. The first won't do too much, but subsequent ones after that will continue to do more and more. Turbo able to reach the next one on the charge attack priority. This still won't be lethal, but will leave the opponent low. Turbo T going to invest the Protect Shield. Can we Karate Chop farm down? It's going to be close. Let's see. Turbo T looks for the farm down, recognises he's not going to get it, and throws the next Rage Fist on the charge attack priority. The opponent invests their final Protect Shield, and Turbo T now has a decision to make. Turbo T going to go all in on Primeape. The opponent not wanting to see the farm down, send out Gator and are able to snipe us down. A very nice play from the opponent there. Hydro Cannon removes us from the field of play. Toxicroak re-enters the arena and the opponent's even able to outpace, reaching a Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon gonna rock Toxicroak into the yellow. We snipe with Pidgeot, or at least attempt to. This Gator able to reach yet another charge move. This Gator is such a spammy pest. Toxicroak hits the field of play, finally able to Poison Sting farm down, but leaves with hardly any HP. Out comes an opposing Primeape. Dynamic Punch isn't quite lethal. We're going to fire off the next one. It's going to be Poison Sting versus Vine Whip. Who will prevail? Toxicroak able to Poison Sting farm down. Another game where I thought we're absolutely cooked, but Turbo T able to emerge victorious. Heading into the next battle, we see Clefable in the lead position. This one opting for quick energy generation as opposed to the degenerate quick move of Charm. The opponent YOLO the Moonblast, and ouch, that hurt. Pidgeot almost got knocked out. Turbo says, I see your nuke and I raise my own. Brave Bird unfortunately forced the protection. This time we look to utilise Toxicroak on the say switch. Out comes Shadow Typhlosion. We're going to fire off the Dynamic Punch. Is the opponent straight in and straight out? Unfortunately they're not. The opponent now down both Protect Shields. Turbo T going to invest Protect Shield. Here I just throw one Poison Sting. Turbo, a very high IQ battler, and recognises that. The reason you only want to throw one is that Incinerate will not register. The opponent sends out Guzzlord, not sure on that play, as Guzzlord is going to have to eat a Dynamic Punch to the face. Dynamic Punch almost picks up the one-hit KO. We send out Pidgeot and we're able to Simul KO. It's now Clefable versus the world, and we now find ourselves in the bait game. Turbo with a shield type, I'm going to be investing it here. Oh crap, we get swift baited. Turbo T looks to reach the double. Can Primeape survive a Moonblast? I've got a rank 1. I know the answer to that question is unfortunately not. Clefable able to successfully bait and clean up. GG's that opponent. A huge shout out to Turbo T for bringing us this very fun team, and let's see if washed up Jamie Finn Pogo can navigate this team to any wins. I lead Pidgeot into Tentacruel. A type neutral matchup. I do need to be mindful. I don't really fancy tanking a Blizzard to the face. The opponent makes my life very easy, not even farming up to the Blizzard. The opponent fire off the Scold. You know the drill. YOLO the Brave Bird. Hope to land the big boom, and if it goes shielded, just say switch into Primeape. Brave Bird, force the first Protect Shield, and I say switch into Primeape. Primeape going to be investing in Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Scold. The opponent then pivots out into their own Primeape. You can see here I throw 4, and the reason for that is I know I survive a Rage Fist, and I want to get off the close combat before the opponent potentially close combat me to the face. Does the opponent respect the damage? Hi Primeape, bye Primeape. Jamie Finn is the best Shadow Primeape user in the world. I'm not really, but I do like this Pokemon, it is my favourite. Back out comes Tentacruel. I recognise I can actually reach double Rage Fist. I'm not going to YOLO the close combat the first time. Rage Fist number 1 goes unshielded. Rage Fist number 2 either going to knock out or force the final protection. The opponent goes all in on their squid. I'm just going to send out Pidgeot and look to force the energy. This now sets up an opportunity for Toxicroak to have a shield advantage looking to sweep the back line. I am going to shield up the Scald as Toxicroak is bloody glassy. I'm not sure if I can Poison Sting farm down. I'm just going to try and CMP tie to the next Scald. The opponent recognise they're going to get farmed down, or at least recognise I'm trying to overfarm. Send out the Panda Bear, blink, and you might miss it. Panda Bear straight in and straight out. I'm doubled up. The opponent recognises that, and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle. Yikes. That is not what I'm looking to see. We're going to utilise Shadow Primeape on the save switch, and out comes Zygarde. One close combat isn't lethal. However, a boosted one certainly will get the job done. I'm going to fire off the Rage Fist, then you know the drill. YOLO that close combat trainer, give me that Protect Shield, or get removed from the field of play. Close combat. Unfortunately goes shield. The opponent trying to Dragon Tail fire me down. Primeape able to reach one further close combat. Oh, trainer, you sir are in absolute shambles. Primeape takes back switch and obtains shield advantage. Back out comes Belly Bolt. I can now realign my Pokemon, of course. I'm going to send Toxicroak into Belly Bolt. Oof, this is tough. This is somewhat of a core breaker for me. I'm going to fire off the Dynamic Punch, force the protection, then just send out Pidgeot. Pidgeot has no value into the remainder of the team, so I may as well use it here, where at least we're not taking super effective. We're actually double resisting the quick move of Sand Attack. Despite the opponent having no shield, a Brave Bird won't be lethal, so I'm actually going to throw the Feather Dance, and the reason for that is I know that now means I can survive one move. Iron Head gets me low, the opponent then sends out Belly Bolt and make a huge mistake. Here they should always commit to the farm down. They opt to throw the Parabolic Charge, and that certainly works for me. I know one move won't be lethal, so I'm actually going to try and farm up as much energy on this Belly Bolt as I physically can. I'm going to fire off the first Dynamic Punch and then going to look to try and CMP tie the second Parabolic Charge, ensuring I maximise my energy. It looks like my count-in's 1 off. I believe they reached it there, but clearly they are 1 short. Jamie Finn, go back to school, buddy. You are so washed up. Back out comes Corviknight. Toxicroak looking to reach the double Dynamic Punch. We're now there. That Sand Attack won't be lethal. The first Dynamic Punch rocks the opponent deep into the red health range. The opponent actually opts to throw. Why? I'm not entirely sure. I've got a shield, which of course I'm using here. We're going to shield up the Iron Head, return fire with the double Dynamic Punch, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see the Angry Alligator in the lead position. The opponent save switches into Belly Bolt. I was hoping I got to YOLO a Brave Bird at that thing like Turbo did, but unfortunately it's not meant to be. I'm going to send out Primeape. As they're boosted, one close combat won't be lethal. I'm actually just going to fire off the Rage Fist. Here a close combat would be lethal, however I'm intentionally going to throw the Rage Fist on the charge attack priority. I'd rather farm them down as opposed to let Gator farm me down. That's the logic in that play. The opponent actually going to undercharge the Parabolic Charge, recognising that I want to farm them down. But as they're double boosted, I still throw the Karate Chop, hoping I can now Poison Sting farm them down before the next Parabolic Charge is reached. Unfortunately, I cannot. But that's not really bad, to be honest, as Toxicroak energy is so universally useful. The opponent finally not wishing to concede a farm down. I send out Gliscopod. I'm going to fire off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball should put me in a range where Pidgeot can just gust farm down before they reach the second charge move. And it looks like that is certainly the case. Pidgeot going to tank the liquidation. When Gator returns, we double resist the Shadow Claw. I'm not fucking around. I'm just YOLOing Brave Birds. Brave Bird forces the Protect Shield. I actually anticipated the opponent looking to call the bait. They did not, but it's neither here nor there. Gator unable to farm down. Going to fire off the Hydro Cannon. Now all I've got to do is be mindful of the opponent trying to make a catch. I know it's coming. You probably know it's coming. The opponent is going to attempt it. Are they successful? Not today, trainer. Nah. We know at the double Dynamic Punch, the first, going to force the opponent final protection. Have no doubt the second is going to be all she wrote. GG's that opponent. Why can I never land a Brave Bird, man? Turbo is landing them all over the place, and my Brave Birds are getting shielded. It's well annoying. Heading into the next battle, we see Clefable in the lead position. Another annoying Charm variant. I'm going to throw the Feather Dance. Even if the opponent call it, I don't really care. I just want to lower this Charm damage. My backline isn't a big fan of Charm. The opponent actually chooses to invest a Protect Shield. They're going to fire off the Swift. And this looks like a very aggressive Poison Sting farm down opportunity. Toxicroak does take neutral from Charm and it's very glassy, but Feather Dance did double debuff their defense. Toxicroak gets a huge farm down, leaves absolutely loaded. Out comes Swampert. I'm going to YOLO the Dynamic Punch and then bank this second move and make the pivot into Primeape. The opponent continued to overfarm, allowing me to reach the Rage Fist. A Rage Fist forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. Oh boy, Primeape is off to the races. Out comes Talonflame. One Rage Fist won't be lethal. The next Rage Fist probably will, but I'm just going to YOLO the Close Combat. Why? Because I like landing big booms. I'm going to shield at the Flame Charge, throw one Karate Chop and the Close Combat, meaning the Incinerate will not register. Primeape is a Talonflame counter confirmed. You heard it here first. Back out comes Swampert. I think the opponent had to try and Mud Shot farm me down there. Not there ever reaching it. We're just going to resist it. Poison Sting farm them down, and this game is over. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see the Angry Alligator in the lead position. I've got another opportunity to land a Brave Bird. Knowing my luck, it's going to go shielded, but I'm going to YOLO it anyway. I'm here for a good time and not a long time. The opponent throw the Hydro Cannon again. We YOLO the Brave Bird. Does the opponent respect the damage? Oh, come on. As much as I'm complaining about Brave Bird and not landing, having a shield advantage Primeape and Toxicroak is a good time. Out comes Komodo. The opponent already down one protection. I'm going straight Close Combat. Primeape lands its big boom. Get that Komodo off my screen. Out comes Gliscopod. These Fury Cutters are resisted. Even though I've harshed my own defense, they really aren't doing much. The first Rage Fist goes unshielded. Primeape already the next one. The second Rage Fist forced to protection. The opponent looking for that Fury Cutter farm down. Rank 1 Primeape coming in clutch. The opponent unable to farm down. The boosted Rage Fist removes the bug from the field of play. Only Gator remains. Yeah, I agree, opponent. That one's over. They concede the match and we're moving swiftly on. In the next battle, Pidgeot into Gastrodon. Definitely where the team wants to see it. The opponent say switches into Weezing, and this is definitely a problematic Pokemon for me. Depends on the moveset, to be honest. Toxicroak could be a complete wall if they're on Brutal Swing and Sludge, but some run Overheat, some run Play Rough. Okay, I guess we're never going to know. We finally land a Brave Bird. Pidgeot gets in on the big boom action. Out comes Moltres. We're going to pivot into Primeape. Primeape going to be investing that Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming fly. Here I think I make a mistake. I definitely should have thrown the Close Combat one before, but if I'm honest, I was worried the opponent would catch. Like this, I've ended up playing to CMP. We do win this charge attack priority, but I'm not going to get off the second Close Combat. Not the best play for me there, if I'm being brutally honest. I am now going to be switch locked when I send Toxicroak out. I'm going to wait out my clock, anticipating Gastrodon re-entering the arena. Again, we're going to farm up, try to trap the opponent into the CMP tie. They do not win. Dynamic Punch goes unshielded. The opponent put all their hopes and dreams on Gastrodon. I'm going to pivot into Pidgeot. I'm going straight for the Feather Dance, wanting to lower the attack by 2 stages. However, I actually believe the opponent can fully mod stat farm me down. I'm in huge danger. You know the drill. Earth Power me trainer, you win. We look to call the bait. The opponent gives me a win con. A body slam, simply not going to cut it. I don't think I played this game particularly well, but it is what it is. The opponent masturbated like an absolute potato, clearly saying, trainer, you win. You might have played like shit, but have this one on me. I'm not going to complain. Dynamic Punch is going to pick up the knockout, and we managed to escape with a dub, despite playing really poorly. Heading into the next battle, we see Skeleturge in the lead position. Once again, we're going to look to YOLO the Brave Bird. The opponent actually banks some energy and then send out Goodra. We may as well YOLO the Brave Bird at this thing. Brave Bird gets no respect. The opponent near gets one shot and Primeape hits the field of play. Primeape can easily survive an Aqua Tail. We might be glassy, but non-stab Aqua Tail simply isn't it. Skeleturge does have a move bank and they're going to opt to throw instantly. I think this is worth a shield, to be honest. I know I reached 2 moves. We're going to shield up the Disarming Voice. Nice they're not on Torch Song, meaning these Incinerates aren't being vamped up. 2 Karate Chops and the Rage Fist for optimal fast move timing. 2 further Karate Chops and the next Rage Fist. I recognise the opponent here might farm me down. I don't want to concede a farm down, so I send out Pidgeot and look to force the energy. We are able to force some energy off Skeleturge. Disarming Voice removes me from the field of play. I'm going to wait out my clock and it is frog time. In Toxicroak, I believe. Toxicroak hits the field of play. Dynamic Punch double resisted. I could have thrown it on CMP, but Dynamic Punch wouldn't have cut it. Instead, I'm going to invest the protection and look to overfarm. The opponent sends out Guzzlord. We've already seen from Turbo's battles that 1 isn't quite lethal. I was tempted to throw 6 and throw on CMP, but I think the safer play is just make the catch back onto Primeape. I remember this battle, the opponent actually undercharged that, and then we're having a Mexican standoff. So what's happening here is the opponent wants to farm me down for energy. I want to farm them down for energy. I want to Shadow Ball that thing to their face. However, I can just Karate Chop farm down, leaving 1 off the Rage Fist. This is Rage Fist range, and even if it isn't, we've got a Dynamic Punch locked and loaded. Nice recognition from the opponent there, and we're able to take that game. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's shoutcast. I think a backline where you're running ghost and fighting coverage is so much fun and makes for some dynamic gameplay, usually giving you win cons in most matches if you can manage your energy well. I've used these sort of strategies in the past. We've used Annihilate and Primeape, respectively. We've used Dust Noir and Golurk, and today we tried Toxicroak and Primeape. All 3 are very fun. Definitely not the easiest to use, it is quite glassy, but very fun regardless. A huge thank you for Turbo for submitting today's team. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to a battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.